Hey, welcome back to CKLA Chat. I am BLC Sarah Foster Yankee, fourth and fifth grade, and joining me is my co-host.
Ashley Giles, fourth and fifth grade district literacy coach from Team 3.
Right, today we are in Unit 6 of fourth grade. This is contemporary fiction, and we're talking about Lesson 9, a closer look at perspective in Vignette 6 of The House on Mango Street. So our core text for this lesson is the same as yesterday. I think we read this in the previous lesson as well. Those who don't, or those who know, those who something. And students are reading this vignette. Did I put the wrong vignette?
I'm thinking, is it Gil? No.
You're right. Yes, it does say vignette 6. So it is
The real Gil.
right. Gil's furniture bought and sold.
Yeah.
Yep. So disregard what this screen says. It is Gil's furniture bought and sold. And if I remember that vignette correctly, they're reading it because it is about basically more about how unreliable Esperanza's perceptions can be, because the way she perceives Gil is a little bit iffy. Yeah, a little bit iffy. So that's why they're reading vignette 6, not vignette 5. All right, so here we go.
So with vignette lesson 9, we start off briefly, really quickly with writing um, because they on the previous day, yesterday, lesson 8, the students created 3 characters, and they did that writing where they swapped with their partners, and so the teacher should have provided feedback. And today, for a brief 15 minutes, students are basically going to revise their scenes based off the feedback from the teacher. And this is quick, 15 minutes. And then the only support that I do want to focus in on, when the students read their scenes to their partner because they switched, we don't want to revise our partners. We just want to make sure that they're doing their own characters um, from Esperanza's perspective rather than their partners' um, help from their scene. So making sure they're revising what they wrote, and that's it. Teacher circulating around the room, students revising based off that feedback, and that's going to take you into the reading section.
All right, here we go. Oh, and that's just the same formative assessment from the previous lesson. Reason for the revisions. Right. So for reading, our cub is students will know Esperanza's perception of Gil, or how she perceives Gil. They'll understand the author's use of dialogue, action, and figurative language to convey Esperanza's perception of Gil. And they'll be able to annotate Vignette 6 to identify dialogue and action and explore the meanings of 3 similes using the writer's journal. I'm going to mute for it real quick.
And so I guess I'll just start. This component is broken into 3 components, and we'll start with the first component, which is the close reading. And here, this is whole group, and you are only within this vignette, only focusing on the reading of paragraphs 1 and 2. Now, are you still on? Okay, let me turn to it. Hold on. And so it starts off, we have some evaluative questions as we are.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, that was a long announcement. Thank you for jumping in. Okay, so for this 15 minutes, the teacher is making the connection to the prior day's learning, where they talked about Esperanza's interaction with others in her community, her perception of other communities, and well, how she thinks they perceive her. And then the teacher's introducing this new vignette, vignette 6. She's going to read the first paragraph aloud and then have students read the remainder silently. And then there's a check for understanding, where the teacher asks students to identify where in the text we learn the name of the man who owns the store by raising their hand when they find it. And the teacher is ensuring that they understand his name isn't in the text, It's just in the title of the vignette. So after the check for understanding, the teacher is going to be asking some literal, inferential, and evaluative questions to help students make the connection to how uncomfortable Esperanza was in Gil's shop and reminding them of their previous day's discussion about Esperanza's perceptions. And from there, they're going to go to the next section, close read paragraphs 3, 4, and 5, partner and whole group for 25 minutes. The teacher is going to set the purpose for this close read, that is not written with traditional punctuation, so they'll need to study closely to understand. And did I get the purpose? Yep. They're going to be working on Writer's Journal 9.1. Hopefully it's here. Yes, it is. The students are going to do I have other pages? There we go. Questions 1 and 2 with a partner. And number 3 here, they're going to do as a class discussion and fill in this table together. So question 1 is where they underline all the dialogue in the vignette. And then they're going to use a different color to underline all the physical actions of the characters. 2 tells them there are 3 similes in the passage. They're going to write all the similes down. And then as a class, they work on what the similes might mean and fill out this table. It does recommend that the teacher may choose to go over one simile at a time and allow students to write their own answers or work in pairs before discussing as a group. And that brings us to the last section, perceptions of Gil, whole group for 15 minutes. It begins with a check for understanding, where the teacher polls the students on whether they agree or disagree that the music box mentioned in the vignette makes a strong impact on Esperanza. The teacher asks a few students to provide evidence, including the figurative language. And if students disagree about the impact of the music, use the next conversation to remediate and poll them again. From there, the teacher leads a discussion asking inferential, evaluative, and literal questions around Esperanza's experience in Gil's shop and her response to him. Again, really bringing students' attention to the fact of how uncomfortable she was in that shop and why she was uncomfortable. They're going to talk about how her perception of him changes after she listens to the music in the music box. And in writing, they're going to focus on Gil's perspective of the scene. And that takes us to writing.
That takes us to writing. Absolutely. I'm so happy you said that Esperanza, she felt uncomfortable, right? Because in the writing portion, there's one component, and basically, well, let's talk about the cub first. And it's this. It took the cub took the words right out of my mouth, right? What I was gonna say. So the students they're going to know Gil's perspective. We already know how Esperanza felt, with the whole music box. She was uncomfortable, and so in this lesson, we're gonna think about if Gil was there, right? Well, how would he feel, basically? And so they're gonna know Gil's perspective. They're gonna understand how the events with the music box might have seen through Gil's eyes, because remember, Gil wasn't actually there.
But he was there, right? He was there because it was his shop, right?
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. So, and they will be able to create an alternative version of Vignette 6 from Gil's perspective. So, when I said not there, meaning in the last earlier lesson, is really focusing on Esperanza and her feelings, right? Not really didn't tell us much about Gil, basically. Meaning, so I could rephrase my
Oh, I
words.
see what you mean. So his perspective wasn't there.
Perspective, right? And it was all about Esperanza's perspective. And so
Gotcha.
now in this lesson, we are going the student not we but the students are acting as if it were in Gil's perspective. So you got to rephrase sometimes, right? So it starts. So that's why the first component is called the real Gil. And so the teacher, you should see the teacher first direct students to Writer's Journal 9.2. And basically, the instructions are on there. Students are to write a short description of the events in the excerpt that you underline. Remember, in the previous lesson, the reading portion, they underline that action, those dialogues from Esperanza, right? And so now they're going to have to shift that thinking. If it were Gil, how would um, basically Esperanza's perception change if it were Gil? So now they're going to be writing as through the eyes of Gil, and students are going to be telling you what Gil thinks, which we're talking about comparing and contrast. He's going to probably most likely feel the opposite, right, from what Esperanza has felt. So hopefully your students are making that connection that she was uncomfortable. He is his shop, like you said, in the reading. So he's going to have a different feeling, a different perception of that music box in the
Yeah.
shop.
I think it's interesting. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Students did something similar to this, I think a couple of lessons ago, when they rewrote the scene with the nun as
Right,
if it was ZZ the X. So
right,
it's pretty much the same thing, remembering that the scene, like everything in the scene stays the same, except
right.
now it's Gil telling the story. And they probably want to emphasize that part where he plays the music box. And I forgot what happened between them, but it was like maybe Esperanza must have come across like she wanted it or something, or the sister asked how much it cost. He's like, no, it's not for sale.
Fine. Yeah,
Yeah, like it's not. So what was going through his head when he said that? Because we know it from Esperanza's perspective,
Esperanza's
but
perspective.
yeah. So what's going through his mind this whole time with these girls walking around his shop touching stuff and
Absolutely. How's he feeling about that,
yeah.
right? So, and basically, as they are speaking of what Gil thinks, are they writing what Gil thinks? Teachers obviously circulating around the room, perfect opportunity to pull those small groups. It also says for some support, you want to mention, hopefully, teachers are talking about first person point of view here. Great way to bring in that skill. Speaking a first person perspective and modeling an initial sentence with the student. So providing that model. The girl nanny, how was it here? I told her. So just modeling that. What will it look like from first person perspective? It says if you have time at the end of class, have some volunteers share out. And then basically students are writing. And then if there's time, have students share out. And at the conclusion, teachers should, after class, check through Writer's Journal 8.2, 9.1, and 9.2 and provide feedback on this sheet specifically right here. That's how they close it. They're just writing different perspectives. So we hope this is beneficial, especially to our skills specialists, our principals, and APs with your busy schedules. Quick, brief overview of the lessons. We hope you enjoy.
All right. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.
Bye. Thank you.